what if I told you that the British and Europeans did not bring slave trade to Africa, and that long before Prince Henry discovered Africa, Africans were being captured and sold as slaves to other races? So who were the first slave traders in Africa? And why is this aspect of history often overlooked? Let's get straight to this history. For centuries, history classes taught about the transatlantic slave trade by the Europeans and Americans. However, this overshadows the significant roles Arabs played in the earlier slave trade network. Slave trade was brought to Africa by the Arabs during the 7th century and lasted for 13th century, that's 1,300 years. The rise of Islam in the 7th century, the expansion of the Arab empires, and Islam prohibiting Muslims from enslaving each other created a demand for non-Muslim slaves. So millions of Africans were taken from their continent to work in Arabs' land in the most inhumane conditions. In the eastern part of Africa, slaves captured between present-day Somalia and Mozambique were transported by sea to the shores of the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf. While in West Africa, they captured and traded slaves from the Niger Valley to the Gulf of Guinea. These slaves were transported by the sub-Saharan desert. Crossing these African slaves took up to 3 months and had a high mortality rate due to the condition of the trip. You see, scholars term this the veiled genocide, attributing to be the most humiliating and near-death experience slaves were subjected to. It is estimated that 9 million Africans were captured and sold during this period. Arab merchants and middlemen would gather in Zanzibar for raw materials including cloves and ivory, then buy black slaves and use them to carry these materials back home. They were also made to work in their plantations. Now, while Europeans were interested in strongly built men as laborers on their farms, the Arab merchants focused more on concubinage, capturing women and girls and turning them into sex slaves while living in Arabs. See, the demand and prices for female slaves greatly tripled that of male, with the ratio of captured women to men being 3:1. Male slaves were then castrated in the most inhuman way and made to guard those Arabs. Most of these male slaves ended up committing suicide. African Muslims were, however, never captured as slaves due to the Islamic legal views, and the children of slaves who converted were released and would no longer be slaves. So why is this part of history unknown? The great sub-Saharan slave trade is less well known than the transatlantic slave trade because historical narratives in the 20th century focused heavily on European colonialism in Africa, which overshadowed Africa's pre-colonial past, including the Arab slave trade. Also, African societies relied on oral tradition as a means of passing down information from one generation to another, and a lot of our history weren't written down or documented, which means a lot of our history are still lost in time.